All right, so we're diving into a pretty heavy question today.
Hmm.
One that I think a lot of us have probably thought about at some point.
Yeah.
Is God cruel?
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is a big one. And we're going to try to tackle it thoughtfully
Okay.
using these excerpts you sent me from the article, Natural Disasters, Evidence that God is Cruel.
Right.
This piece really digs into how we view God when it comes to suffering,
Yeah.
all the bad stuff in the world.
Yeah.
So to get a good handle on it, we're going to be looking at natural disasters
Okay.
and also like those divine judgments you read about in the Bible.
Right. Those big stories. Yeah.
Yeah, to kind of see, what arguments are made on both sides.
Yeah. No, that's a great approach because the article jumps right into a question that I think a lot of people ask,
Okay.
which is, if God's really in control of everything, if he's running the show,
Yeah.
doesn't that kind of make him responsible for all the bad stuff?
Right.
Like earthquakes and floods and hurricanes and all that.
Yeah, does that make him the author of suffering?
Yeah, it seems logical, right?
Totally. Like at first glance, it's like, well, if he's all powerful
Yeah.
and he's letting this stuff happen,
Yeah.
then it's hard to square that with a loving God.
Right.
But the article throws a bit of a curveball here.
Okay.
It brings up this verse from 1 John 5.19,
Okay.
which says that the world is actually under the control, not of God, but of the wicked one.
Right.
We're talking about Satan here.
Oh, wow. Okay. So now we've got another player in the mix.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, so maybe God's not directly
Mm-hmm.
causing these things, but then it brings up another question.
And that's exactly what got me thinking, too.
Yeah.
Because if God is all powerful, like we believe,
Yeah.
why would he let Satan have so much influence?
Right.
It's like, did we just kind of inherit this cosmic mess that we didn't even create?
Yeah, it's like, thanks a lot, ancestors.
Right.
But that's where the article digs into the idea of mankind's rebellion against God,
Okay.
starting way back with Adam and Eve.
Okay. Yeah. The OG rebels.
Exactly. It's like the original sin, right?
Right.
And it argues that this is what gave Satan a foothold.
Oh, so it's our fault, basically.
Well, the article kind of makes that point.
Okay.
That's like, imagine giving your apartment keys
Yeah.
to someone you barely know
Okay.
and then being shocked when they throw this massive, crazy party and trash the place.
Yeah. I can see that.
Except in this case, the party is all the bad stuff happening in the world.
Oh, that's a powerful image.
Yeah, kind of makes you think, huh?
It does. It really makes you think about how much our actions, even way back then, can have these ripple effects,
Yeah, it's like the butterfly effect, but on cosmic scale.
Exactly. But it's also like, if it was our ancestors who messed up, why are we the ones dealing with the fallout?
I hear that.
Doesn't seem very fair.
I get that it can feel kind of unfair.
Right?
Like, why are we being punished for something we didn't do?
Yeah.
But here's what the article points to.
Okay.
It brings up Isaiah 63.9, which emphasizes that God isn't just some, distant, uncaring figure.
Right.
He's actually deeply affected by our suffering.
So he's not causing the disasters,
No.
but he's not indifferent to them either.
Exactly.
Oh, that's an important distinction.
Yeah, he's not causing it, but he's allowing it.
Right.
And it still begs the question, why?
Yeah. Why would a loving God allow suffering?
Right. But there's a glimmer of hope here.
Okay.
I'm listening. The article reminds us this isn't a forever situation.
Oh, thank goodness.
Jesus, as a just and righteous king, is coming to set things right, according to Daniel 7.1314.
So we've got Satan causing chaos, a heartbroken God watching over us, and Jesus on the way to fix everything.
Right.
Talk about a cosmic drama.
Yeah, high stakes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The article doesn't stop there.
Well, there's more.
Yeah, it goes on to tackle those biblical stories where God directly intervened,
Okay.
which can be tough to understand,
Yeah.
Some people might see them as cruel. So let's start with Noah's flood.
Now, wait.
Was wiping out almost everyone except Noah and his family really an act of mercy?
That's a tough one.
It really is.
It really makes you wonder.
It does.
But the article brings up Ezekiel 33.11,
Okay.
where it says God takes no pleasure in the death of the wicked.
So if he brought the flood, what was the purpose?
Right, that's the million-dollar question.
It is, and this is where the article highlights this pattern of divine judgment we see in the Bible.
Okay.
It uses 2 Peter 2.5 to 6 as an example. And it basically boils down to this.
Okay.
God holds people accountable for their cruelty, and he promises an end to suffering.
Okay.
But before he acts, he always gives a warning.
Right. It's a chance to change.
Exactly like with Noah.
Oh, yeah. Noah was the one preaching,
He's going around warning everyone.
telling everyone to turn from their wicked ways
Right.
and get ready.
But just like in Matthew 24:39,
Okay.
most people just ignored him until it was too late.
Classic.
Isn't it? And sadly, this isn't unique to the flood.
So you're saying this pattern pops up throughout history?
We see this pattern again and again.
Oh, well, you think of a specific example.
Think about Amos 3:7.
Okay.
God specifically warned Israel that if they continued down this path of wickedness,
Yeah.
there would be consequences. Well, they didn't listen.
Oh, no.
Their actions even included child sacrifice.
That's awful.
It is, and it led to exactly what God foretold.
So these past judgments, they're meant to be like a lesson for us today.
The article seems to think so.
Okay.
It points out that we can trust God to act justly against those who cause suffering today, ultimately fulfilling that promise in Psalm 37.9:11.
The meek inheriting the earth.
Exactly.
Okay, so even though things are bad,
Right.
we can trust that justice will be served eventually.
That's the hope the article offers.
A glimmer of hope in a kind of messed up world.
Right. But then there's the story of the Canaanites,
Ooh, yeah.
which brings up even more questions about God's action.
Because some people compare it to genocide?
Right, it's a serious accusation.
Yeah.
But the article points to Deuteronomy 32.4,
Okay.
which says God's justice is different from human warfare.
Oh, how so?
He sees people's hearts and judges accordingly.
So not just based on outward actions.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Right. And the article uses Sodom and Gomorrah from Genesis 18:20-30-33 to illustrate this.
Okay.
Remember, God was willing to spare those cities for just 10 righteous people?
Yeah.
So it shows his mercy and consideration.
So it's not just blind punishment.
No, not at all.
He's taking everything into account.
Right, even that potential for good in a seemingly corrupt society.
Okay, so back to the Canaanites then.
Why were they targeted?
Yeah, what set them apart?
Well, the article highlights their notorious cruelty,
Oh,
even
no.
referencing archaeological evidence of child sacrifice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's in a footnote.
I'll have to check that out.
And they also knew God had given the land to Israel, but they chose to fight anyway.
So it wasn't just their own practices. It was this deliberate choice to oppose God.
Right, and his people.
Okay, so that adds a whole other layer to it.
It does, but it's also worth noting that God did show mercy
Oh, really? To whom?
to Canaanites who changed their ways.
Okay, give me an example.
Like Rahab the prostitute in Joshua 6.25,
Okay.
and the people of Gibeon in Joshua 9.
Right.
They chose to side with God, and they were spared.
So there was a choice.
Yes, a choice
It
involved.
wasn't about wiping out everyone indiscriminately.
Exactly, and that choice is something the article connects to our lives today.
Okay, that's so.
Because according to 2 Peter 3.7, we're approaching a time of judgment for the ungodly, but those who love God will benefit when suffering is finally eliminated.
So this idea of judgment, it's not just some ancient concept.
No, it has real implications for us today.
Wow, that's heavy stuff.
The article ends this section with a powerful question from Deuteronomy 30.19-20.
Okay.
Does God commanding parents to choose life for themselves and their children sound cruel? Or does it sound like a God who deeply cares about their well-being?
That's a good question. It really challenges us to think about
It does.
what it means to be a loving God in a world with so much pain.
Yeah,
It's complex.
it is.
There are no easy answers.
Right.
But I appreciate how this article makes us grapple with these questions.
It does.
Honestly and thoughtfully.
Yeah,
Instead of just shying away from them.
exactly.
It's hard stuff.
It is, but it's important.
Absolutely.
And the article acknowledges that it can be really difficult to trust God,
Yeah.
especially when we don't understand his actions.
Right. It's like you want to trust him, but then something awful happens and you're left with all these doubts.
Yeah, all these questions.
How do you reconcile that feeling with a loving God?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
And I think the article offers some helpful ways to think about that.
Okay, well, let's dig into that then.
Instead, yeah, it's natural, to question things when life gets tough. The article uses this really great analogy.
Yeah.
Imagine a close friend does something
Yeah.
that you find hurtful or confusing.
Yeah.
Would you immediately assume they're a bad person?
No, probably not.
Or would you give them the benefit of the doubt?
I'd at least hear him out,
Sure, right?
see if there's a reason I'm missing.
Exactly. We tend to extend that grace to our friends.
Yeah.
We recognize that we don't always have the full picture. So the article suggests we apply that same principle to God.
Okay, so instead of jumping to conclusions,
Right.
we try to see things from his perspective.
Yeah, because his ways aren't our ways.
Right, like that verse in Isaiah.
Isaiah 55:8 to 9.
Yeah, something like that.
It's hard to wrap our heads around sometimes.
It is, because we're so limited, and
We are.
in our understanding.
And honestly, sometimes it's not about finding all the answers.
Right.
It's about learning to trust,
Even when we don't get it.
even when it's hard.
That's a tough one.
It is.
Especially when you're in the midst of suffering,
Oh, absolutely.
It's hard to turn off the why questions when it feels like your world is falling apart.
Yeah, the article acknowledges that struggle.
Rucky did.
The doubt, the anger,
It's real.
it's all part of it.
So it's okay to feel those things.
It's not about suppressing those emotions.
Right.
It's about processing them in a healthy way.
But how do we do that without losing faith completely?
That's where the article points to the Psalms
Oh, okay.
as a model
Okay.
for processing those difficult emotions
Interesting.
in a way that honors God.
Because the psalmists weren't afraid, to be honest.
Exactly. They poured out their hearts to God.
Even the ugly stuff.
They didn't hold back.
So it's not disrespectful to question God,
Not at all.
even to get angry with him.
It's about being authentic, bringing those feelings to him instead of burying them.
So it's like saying, God, I don't understand this, but
But I'm still coming to you with my pain.
because I trust you.
Exactly.
That's powerful.
It can actually strengthen our relationship with him.
Okay, but what about when our suffering
Mm-hmm.
is caused by other people's choices?
That's a tough one.
Is God still good even when others are causing harm?
Well, the article reminds us about Satan's role.
Right. He's the ruler of this world.
No.
So we often blame God for things that are actually the result of human sin or evil influences.
Exactly. It's like this cosmic chess game.
Ooh, I like that.
We're caught in the middle.
Between good and evil.
Yeah, and the article doesn't let us off the hook either.
Oh.
It acknowledges that our own imperfections contribute to the problem.
Right.
We make mistakes. We hurt others.
And those actions have consequences.
They ripple outwards, sometimes causing suffering far beyond what we intended.
So it's not just about pointing fingers at Satan or blaming Adam and Eve.
It's about taking ownership.
For our own part.
Exactly.
Okay, so amidst all this talk of suffering and evil and free will,
Mm-hmm.
the article makes a really crucial point.
Which is?
We need to remember who's ultimately in control.
Yes. Good point.
Who created the heavens and the earth. Who designed our bodies so intricately.
Right down to the tiny cell.
Who gives us each breath we take.
It's easy to forget those things when we're focused on the negative.
It is, but it's a powerful reminder.
Of God's power.
And his goodness.
Yeah, James 1:17 says that every good and perfect gift comes from him.
So even when we're hurting,
Mm-hmm.
we can still see evidence of his goodness.
Absolutely. Look around you.
In the world.
The beauty of creation, the love in our lives.
It's like those moments when you're going through something really tough,
Yeah.
and then you see a beautiful sunset,
Or hear a child laugh.
and it reminds you that there's still good in the world.
Exactly. Those moments are important.
They are.
They shift our focus.
Back to the good.
Back to God.
This whole conversation has really got me thinking
Good.
about how I view God and his role in my life.
It's complex.
There are no easy answers.
But it's worth wrestling with these questions.
I agree. And this article really pushes us to do that.
Honestly and thoughtfully.
Yeah. Not just blindly accepting things.
Right. Questioning, digging deeper.
And sometimes that takes us down unexpected paths.
It does.
This article focuses on the Bible.
Right.
But I'm curious how other religions and philosophies approach this problem of suffering.
That's a great question. Have you ever explored those perspectives?
I haven't gone too deep into it,
Okay.
but I'm fascinated by how different cultures and beliefs,
Yeah.
try to make sense of it all.
It's like each tradition offers a different lens
Ooh, I like that.
through which to view the human experience.
The joys and the sorrows.
Exactly.
Yeah, I haven't gone too deep into it, but I'm fascinated by how different cultures and beliefs, try to make sense of it all.
It's like adding pieces to a puzzle.
Okay.
You might start with one framework,
Right.
but as you explore other viewpoints,
Yeah.
the picture becomes richer and more complex.
I like that. So give me an example.
Okay, well, Buddhism, for instance.
Okay. Offers a completely different perspective on suffering and the divine.
Oh, how so?
It emphasizes the impermanence of all things,
Okay.
and encourages detachment from worldly desires
Mm-hmm.
as a path to liberation from suffering.
So it's not about a God who intervenes or judges.
Well,
It's about understanding reality itself
right.
and finding inner peace amidst the chaos.
Exactly.
That's pretty different
It is.
than we've been talking about.
And there are so many other traditions worth exploring.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Well, Hinduism, for example,
Okay.
has a complex understanding of karma and reincarnation,
Right.
which offers another way of looking at suffering.
Oh, yeah, like where it comes from and what it means.
Exactly.
Wow, this is making me realize how limited our perspective could be.
It's easy to get stuck in one way of thinking.
If we only stick to one tradition or one set of beliefs.
Right.
This deep dive has really opened my mind
That's what it's all about.
to the vastness of human thought,
Right.
you know. Yeah, and all the different ways we've tried to make sense of the world and our place in
It's
it.
incredible, really.
It is, and the beauty of it is we don't have to have all the answers.
Really?
The journey of exploring these questions is just as important as arriving at a definitive conclusion.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's about expanding our understanding,
Okay.
challenging our assumptions,
Yeah.
and engaging in thoughtful dialogue with others.
Even if they see things differently.
Exactly.
It's like we've been given this gift, this
Mm.
curiosity, this drive to explore and understand.
And the more we learn,
Yeah.
the more we realize how much more there is to discover.
It never ends, does it?
It's a lifelong pursuit.
Yeah.
And this deep dive has hopefully given you some tools to continue that journey.
Yeah, I think we've explored the biblical perspective on suffering.
Right. We looked at those tough questions.
Like, is God cruel?
Examined the arguments on both sides.
Yeah.
And even touched on other religious and philosophical viewpoints.
It's been a lot to take in,
It has, but it's just the beginning.
right? There's so much more to explore.
Countless books and articles and conversations waiting to be had.
So where do we go from here?
That's up to you.
Really?
What questions resonated with you the most? What aspects of this discussion would you like to explore further?
Yeah. I mean, maybe you're intrigued by the idea of theodicy and you want to delve into those philosophical arguments about God's goodness in the face of evil.
Right.
Or maybe you're curious about how other religions like Buddhism or Hinduism approach suffering.
It's all out there waiting to be discovered.
That's exciting.
It is. And remember, it's okay to ask those tough questions.
Yeah.
Wrestle with doubts.
Uh-huh.
Seek truth wherever it leads.
No matter what.
There's no right or wrong way to approach this journey.
As long as we do it with an open mind.
And a compassionate heart.
That's beautiful.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with a challenge.
Okay, I'm ready.
Keep exploring.
Don't stop here.
Let this be a springboard for further learning
Deeper reflection.
and meaningful conversations with others.
Because who knows?
Maybe someday
Yeah.
you'll be the one sharing your insights and guiding others on their own journeys.
That would be amazing.
It would.
Well, thanks for joining us on this exploration.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning.
And keep diving deep.
Absolutely.